Hey,
Hello. Hey, how's it going, Jonas? How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, Belter?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing fine. I'm embarrassed. We have an embarrassment of riches as far as stories go. Just today, as a matter of fact.
You could say we have an embarrassment of witches as well.
Oh, yeah, it's true, but we're not doing the pop culture side of things. So just doing the games today. Although, I guess
that's still on the video game subject.
It is. And wow, it's the first story we're covering probably too. But we can't cover stories without the rest of our team. So we do have a couple team members we can bring in, like Nolan Thunder and the amazing Loki. Look at these guys; they're very happy to be here and cover stuff. Guys, it was a slow week in video games.
Slow for Ubisoft sales, I think, but not for us.
Very true. Very true.
That's very true. We have the confirmation that, the rumor that Star Wars Outlaws only sold 1 million copies. That's a disaster. How many copies do you need to sell in order for a game to be profitable?
A lot.
A lot more than that for that one.
Yeah. I mean, just to foreshadow, we've got Ubisoft to cover from here to high water, but we also are going to be talking some Sony and some other things. And I think if you sell less than 1 million games on a multi-$100 million game, you've got problems.
Well, even if you take the highest paid game, the $130 version of the game, and multiply that by 1 million, you're still down what, 70 million if it costs 200 million to make it? That's somebody's not happy.
Yeah, well, yeah, can't argue with that. It's a lot. It's a lot, but 1 million copies. Jonas, what did Black Myth Wukong sell in a week?
I don't even remember, but enough that they're actually proud of the sales figures.
It was over 10 million. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was over 10 million.
Yeah, 10 million in a week, and now I don't even know where they're at. I think last I'd heard it was 30 million copies sold, but I could be misremembering. But the game sold 10 times better than this, so it definitely was profitable, right?
This game, more profitable than this game, no question whatsoever. Yeah. Let's since we're talking about it anyways, let's go ahead and read the story. Rumor: Star Wars Outlaws only sold 1 million copies to date. This from John F. Trent. This was last month. I'm just kidding. It was 2 days ago. A new rumor claimed Ubisoft only sold 1 million copies total for Star Wars Outlaws, far lower than the analyst expectations of 5 million. Look at that sad face right there. Look at that. She's demoralized. This rumor comes from Grant Taylor-Hill at Insider Gaming, who reports, "We have secured a current sales figure from sources close to the game. At the time of writing, Star Wars Outlaws has just ticked over 1 million sales worldwide. As noted by Hill, Assassin's Creed Mirage reportedly sold 5 million copies after 3 months. This appears to be even worse than initial reports. Games industry writer Christopher Dring noted that according to UK sales charts, that Star Wars Outlaws had done about half of Assassin's Creed Mirage. Here's the tweet there. Star Wars Outlaws UK figures were lower than I expected, digital and physical data via GSD, but did a fair bit more than Avatar. Yikes. About half of Assassin's Creed Mirage. Plenty of opportunity to drive more units on this one as we head into Q4. Opportunity to drive more units on this one as we what I'm trying to wrap my head around that statement right there. opportunity to drive more units. Is he actually trying to say they didn't sell a lot, so there's a lot more people who could buy it?
Sure. I mean, this is the weird way in which Mr. Dring covers things. It's like always like, on the side of the studios, for lack of a better way of saying it. And yeah, you do have plenty of opportunity to sell more games if you could only get people interested in it. If you could only bring people into the game. If you could only show them something worth buying. Yes, true statements all around.
I can't remember who linked that article, but wasn't this game called internally like Red Dead Star Wars or something like that?
Yes.
I went and looked it up. Red Dead 2 in its first weekend, for comparison, they said it sold 725 million, which was record breaking. So it may be a bit of a far comparison, but if you're connecting to open world juggernauts like GTA or Red Dead, and you have a Star Wars property attached to it, a phenomenon across society, that is just pathetic. Like, you should have had this be an easy shoe-in for at least a decent sales figure. It's clear that they've made a lot of their people very mad with this game.
Yeah, and none of the grease comparison figure there is it was 10 million in 3 days for Black Myth Wukong, which grew to 18 million.
18 million. Thank you.
Sorry,
thank you,
Loki. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's cool. It's cool.
Thank you for correcting that. Yeah.
I was just going to say that Ubisoft didn't have its grease monkeys leveraging that Ubisoft engine enough when they were working on Star Wars Outlaws. They didn't leverage. They didn't bring the leverage. Ooh, yeah. Because it's Ubisoft.
Now I'm hearing that the Avatar game apparently was based off a very specific engine, and that it was meant to test out that specific engine. So it was an experimental. It was an exercise in testing out new technology, whereas Star Wars and Assassin's Creed Shadows would be the actual game time for that engine. To use a sports analogy. I know sports, right?
You do.
So when I'm looking at this and 1 million units sold, and they're talking about how it sold more than Avatar, which, by the way, I think everybody acknowledges that Avatar game not really moving many units anyway. So this is a horrible metric to have to be compared to. 1 million for a Star Wars property. I mean, we say this often, but Star Wars is essentially dead at this point.
Oh, yeah.
There are some really awful games on Star Wars for the NES. I love it. I'd love it. But I'm not going to, if that game came out today, I would call it for what it is, which is a pretty awful game. I mean, like Darth Vader turning into a scorpion for some reason. You die for no reason. Weird things where you have to run back and get it. Like, the game does not make any sense, but it was fun. Whereas Star Wars Outlaws, I played it. Loki, have you played it? I know that you were the first one to tell me about initial reviews. No one else on this panel has played it except for me.
No.
I don't really enjoy pain.
No.
We let Jonas be the crash test dummy.
It's really not a good game. It's truly not a good game, and I've got a pretty high tolerance for bad games. I mean, I'll play games with my kids all the time, and and sometimes they like games that are, I'm going to say, not as fleshed out as they should be, because it has a cartoon character that they like or something like that. And Star Wars Outlaws is worse than that, because it costs probably several $100 million to make and uses what should be one of the most popular intellectual properties on the planet, and they can't move 1 million units. So
can I say something real quick?
Please do.
EA had a big problem when it first launched its Frostbite engine.
That's it.
They didn't know how to use it. They didn't know how to work it. They didn't know how to use it. They didn't know how to do things with it. A lot of what you saw at the time with, like, why did they take all these features out of Madden and you don't even have like a real season anymore and blah, 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 was because the Frostbite engine, they didn't know how to use it. They didn't know how to work it. Ubisoft has gone all in on this Ubisoft proprietary, leverage engine that they're using. I'm sure they have problems with it, but they've had a couple of games now to get used to it. So what's the problem with Outlaws? What's going to be the problem with Assassin's Creed? Because you've had basically 2 studios working on it at the same time. That means they started out with the same problems, with the same engine. So what are we going to get when it comes to Assassin's Creed? Is this why they're holding it back 4 months? Are they just messing with people? Are they just like, well, we're going to make some changes and try and come out with another time so they can get people to buy it? We don't know. But that engine Ubisoft has created, ditch that. Go back to Unreal Engine. Ditch it and go back. Everybody needs to go back and just use the same thing. I don't care what fees you pay. That was the whole point of EA getting away from the Unreal Engine and going to Frostbite, was we don't have to pay anybody to work it. Well, you had great games when you were still using that. And now you had a whole bunch of failures because you went off on your own and did your own thing. Just use the Unreal Engine.
Right. And just to be clear, Snowdrop is Ubisoft's. I had to look this up, so I'm not trying to act like I knew this the whole time. Frostbite is EA's proprietary engine. Snowdrop is Ubisoft's engine. They did use Snowdrop on. They've used it for a while now, but the more current versions, Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, was supposed to push the envelope on that engine, and it was massive entertainment. And now Star Wars Outlaws is the first one since Massive used it there, and it's just not a good game. It lacks polish. It lacks any visual allure of any kind, despite the fact that they have a female character in a Star Wars universe. Despite the fact that you are in Star Wars, there's nothing in it that feels like Star Wars, and it's buggy as all get out. Fat Steven, friend of the channel, works on all the thumbnails for Pro's channel and a lot of them on VR's channel, Valiant Renegade's channel. He has a playthrough of Star Wars Outlaws where he just gets clocked by a speeder that has no pilot on it. And we've seen the infamous clip of K-Vest trying to beat the tar out of a woman who is also trying to shoot K-Vest from a stationary speeder, and neither of them are hitting each other. Even though, I mean, she's really trying to make contact here. This is a buggy mess, and now they're promising, because of the state of Ubisoft as a company at this point. Maybe Ubisoft is also running on the Snowdrop engine. They're promising that they're going to fix this game by the end of the year and bring in new content. I think they're going to be offering free content as well before they launch this thing on Steam. I don't know if it's going to move the needle here. Nolan, did you have something you want to throw in there?
Yes, I actually, you were talking about how much of a buggy mess this game is. And another thing I want to give a bit of a second thought to is this game really didn't need to be this buggy, because like open world games, they've gone all the way back to like GTA 3 back in the day. Like they had to rebuild their engines, and like craft to make this, a big genre. A lot of games, will use like older engines. Sometimes when they make the console jump, they have to, rebuild it a bit, tweak it for the hardware they're working with. Ubisoft, with the sales figures they've been routinely showing in all the headlines, is this really the time to get so experimental for an open world game like this? Not that you should do open world, but to really like make your own like fancy schmancy game engine. Wouldn't it make more sense to do something open world, but use like some older tech that you have experience with, and just, focus on making the game like creative and good, since your backs are against the wall right now? Because we're past the era of like when, say, like the 360 or the PS3, or heck, even into the PS4, Xbox One era. We're past the point of where graphics are wowing people. And you can't just push tech alone like it's the days of blast processing and all that. You need to come up with something creative. And I don't know if they were doing this engine just to try to push the investors to invest more, but it's just not it looks like they're heading for a doomsday scenario, as opposed to let's work with the tech we got, say like the Nintendo Switch or something like that, and craft something that, why not be groundbreaking, will at least be a juggernaut in the sales. We've seen a lot of games pull that off.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot coming out of the woodwork here on why Ubisoft is in such a bad spot. But before we talk about that, and we are going to talk about one of the reasons that not only is Star Wars Outlaws a mess, not only are they delaying Assassin's Creed Shadows, but also Space Dave is here.
Woo! Sorry I'm late, everyone. I was just on Facebook Marketplace trying to buy Ubisoft. It's at a discount right now. I apologize. I almost snagged it. Whew.
Yeah. I thank you for being here, Dave. I know you've got a lot going on, but we want to, before we get to the next story, I want to say thank you to some of our super chatters here. Samuel Main sent in a super sticker. It's that little pear guy, and giving a thumbs up. Thank you very much, Samuel Main.
Thank you, Sam.
TGV Monster for $2. Hi, everyone. Howdy. Rest in peace, Ubisoft.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Good call. Look, I and we may have been a little heavy-handed with the thumbnail today, but I feel like Ubisoft is headed for bankruptcy. I don't know, just me.
What's wrong with the thumbnail? No,
it's fine.
Yeah. I think it's true though.
Wouldn't they go private before bankruptcy theoretically though?
They might take advantage. They might take advantage of being able to restructure, get some cost savings there through restructure. Mm-hmm. And reduce their expenditure before they're taken private, because you could literally, get rid of a lot by doing it first. That's just my opinion. I mean, if I were doing things.
Totally agree. Let's save a little bit of that for our next story. Machini draws for $5. Hail, boys! There's more info from Endymion regarding the original story they went for with Shadows. Check his recent video. By the way. It seems like they had the bones of a really great game there.
They did.
Assassin's Creed finally doing Japanese history right. Instead, they're going for this historic fanfic from a guy who's just trying to make a little bit of money. I'm of course referring to Thomas Lockley, but that video from Endymion, that's so specific that I he said it was rumors, but I don't know. That looks pretty good to me, and it's actually the kind of research that we would usually expect from Assassin's Creed and that entire series. But also the idea of the Sword of Eden, which it sounds like it was going to be a katana. That sounds pretty cool as far as Assassin's Creed lore goes. Never really liked the Apple of Eden idea from back in the day, but Sword of Eden, that sounds amazing. So yes, everybody needs to go check out Endymion's new video, and thank you very much, Machini, for the heads up. Jacob Foxfires for $5. Sony had this weird update where now ads are showing up instead of games. They hover on the title screen. Are they strapped for cash or what?
It's an actual bug. It's an actual bug. They fixed it. It was a bug. That wasn't supposed to, whether or not they were working on that or not. But they have patched it since, and it's not happening anymore.
Yes. Even just the idea of having ads on your homepage is just disgusting. Like, a homepage is supposed to be like the beacon of your little escape. And I remember some back in the day a bit, some of the Xbox Live stuff would have some ads on your home screen. And thank goodness it's a bug, because I could totally see them pulling that kind of move.
Yeah, Xbox has gone back to that.
PlayStation used to have such a great home screen. You could do all kinds of stuff. I used to have the Enterprise flying through space and the sounds. When I'd start my PS4, I'd be like, bing, 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 bing. You see the ship flying, the warp sounds, and all the cool effects. You can't use any of that on your PS5. None of that works on your PS5. It's like it doesn't even exist.
I used to love the dynamic themes. They were so good.
Yes, and they got rid of all of that.
I would gladly pay money for those. Those are things that people will go out of their way to pay for, and you don't even really have to do that much work. It's literally just a menu. I had the DOA one back in the day, and it had like the sound effects when you scrolled over. It was so cool.
Yeah, and now you just get an ad for Disney Plus or something ridiculous like that. I'm like, I'm sorry, Sony, are you a premium company here? I do not need an ad for $2 on Disney Plus for a month of Disney Plus here. I'm trying to have a premium experience.
Well, also, correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry to interrupt, Jonas. Isn't Sony basically they've lost their media empire now, and their TV empire is suffering, and Blu-ray's pretty much dying as an industry, like as a media as well. So all they have left is, I think, pretty much PlayStation, correct?
Well,
and a few movies.
Yeah, there's a pretty good point to be made there, I think, Their technology side is pretty strong, though. When you consider that pretty much every physical disc right now that is authored is related to them, other than DVD, which I don't know who holds the copyright on DVD, but Sony gets a little bit of money off of every single Blu-ray disc that gets printed, and that includes the 4K formats as well. So, and I don't know what their share of that is, but essentially they're going to be making money for as long as physical media continues to exist. If 4K ends up being the last bastion of physical media, I don't know if we're stuck right there and we won't get another one. But there's that. There was actually a shakeup up at the top of Sony Pictures, which I don't know if we'll get to cover it. It's not much of a shakeup, though, because when it was a surprise to people on the outside, but people on the inside said, no. When we replaced the head of Sony Pictures, the entire film division. I don't want to say Sony Pictures Television. I think they also report up to this guy. But they changed the head of the studio recently, and it seems like it's something that they worked on for a little while, though. I don't know. Sales on PlayStation consoles are probably not paying the bills for them. And then, of course, you have this $400 million, which should be a tax write-down on Concord. So I don't know about the financials of the company as a whole. I probably should look into that. But if there was a paid option to keep all of the ads off of my TV from my PlayStation, I'd go for that. I will say that. So Jacob Foxfires for $5. You got PSN account shenanigans with Helldivers and single-player games. Price increase of PS5 in Japan. The Pro Concord disaster. And now the Jacob Foxfires is already there. I'm also going to point out, there's a story, we probably won't cover it today. One thing I really liked, if you wanted to get the PS5 Pro, the 30th anniversary edition, in Japan, you had to have at least 30 hours of gameplay on a PlayStation before they would allow you to buy that. That's crazy. So I love that.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Torio the White for $2. Suffa stinky French game weenies Suffa.
That does make me smile.
I'm smiling already.
Thank you very much, Torgo the White. Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5. Sorry if anyone is offended. Never believe the enemy. Second, you turn your back, they put a knife in. Corporations are not reversing. Don't be a fool.
Absolutely. Nope. Absolutely, Pinochet. You are absolutely 100% correct.
So the implication here is DEI will never die. Is that what we're getting from this? Or?
Oh, well,
if it was... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, Nolan. It's okay.
I was just going to say, companies will pivot to whatever's convenient. If major companies found out that they could do an absolute 180 on these policies without having it taint their image or whatever, they'd go for it a heartbeat. It's all about whatever's going to drive the most revenue. So they're already working to flush a lot of the activists out. So whenever they find their next big, social issue in the gaming sphere, they'll jump right in if they think it's going to help with investors.
I think they are also learning that the social issues are the things that are driving gamers away. I mean, honestly, if you just take a look at what Ubisoft is experiencing, what Sony has experienced, et cetera, I think, the proof's in the pudding. There's no upside to doing this. And, the ones that are going to want to make money going forward are going to, move away from any of these social issues. The social issues get in the way of the entertainment. It gets in the way of the gamer experience, and it gets in the way of profit.
And I think Bud Light is a good example of that. So learn your lesson from Bud Light, Coca-Cola, and Gillette, right? Did they not teach a lesson to those companies? So.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I'll also throw in, we're about to get to another lesson that Ubisoft should have taught themselves here. Tanil89, aka Dislikes Puns, for $5. Thank you for your 10th super chat, by the way. We're in a moment of no second chances in video games. Not the best time for them to do a dumb. They've been doing a lot.
Ran out of lives, boys.
Yeah, no, this is true. It is a bad time for them to do a dumb. I'm with you. And they this is terrible. I mean, we've got nothing but stories of, and most of them tied to Ubisoft, believe it or not. Of them, just reaping the whirlwind in multiple areas. It's like they invited this disaster from all sides. Fighting a war on many fronts is usually not a successful endeavor. So
and don't forget throwing the, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And go out and make your own games. You're going to have a young generation of gamers that grew up with gamers for dads and moms and grandpa gamer. You're going to have a whole generation of gamers that goes, you know what? I will. And it'll blow the absolute doors off of yours. I know, Jonas, you said this a couple of weeks ago, but you were talking about Nintendo. You can sit down and just play a Nintendo game. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to like get really involved in a story or anything. You can just sit down and play a Nintendo game and zone out for a couple of hours. The big shift that happened with the first PlayStation was, wow, this thing has this like really in-depth story that you could only use to get on like RPGs back on Super Nintendo. Wow, this game's got this really intense story, and oh, PS2 brings you into the game even more, and PS3, and so on and so forth. If it gets to the point where people are like, you know what, I don't care about your BS story, I don't care about your BS game, I don't care about your BS political movement, and blah, 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 they're going to go back to playing just, oh, I can sit there and just bounce, bump, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum, playing Mario or playing Mario Kart or whatever, and then go, you know what? I am going to go out and I'm going to make my own thing and I'm going to do this and it's going to have a really good story. And then you've got a whole nother generation. It's just going to take a little time. If they want to sink the boat, there is another generation ready to step in and go, I will make my own game.
That is beautifully said, Loki. And, you know, you really got me thinking about, like, we're talking about generations now because we have, you know, parents now who grew up with video games. And we're going to eventually be seeing a lot of grandparents with that too. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a gap going on here, not necessarily in the sense of games weren't played in this time, but I think a lot of these big AAA games are just going to end up so irrelevant because, like, right now, especially, you know, economy, money's tight, there's going to be a lot of families where kids, a lot of times, their first exposure is either playing a video game system at a friend's house or more than likely what their parents had. My parents had a PlayStation. That was my first exposure. And they're not going to buy and waste their money for like $70+ nowadays on like Star Wars Outlaws or Assassin's Creed and all that. They're going to hook up the old GameCubes or PlayStation 3s or whatever. And that's going to be those kids' first experience. It doesn't matter how old it is, a kid will play it. And the exception to that would be like a lot of modern stuff, you know, like Fortnite. And the reason the kids will go out for the modern system with that and the parents will buy it for them is because the game is so popular and the schools are all playing it. None of these games are ending up in the zeitgeist. And unless you can really break out, the parents are just going to give them the old stuff and they're going to be happy.
No, the old stuff is priced pretty high now because it is collectors. But yeah, I agree.
True, but a lot of them actually knew that it was going to go up in value and they hung on to them. But it depends.
Yeah, that's a smart people. Yeah, agreed.
Yep. So we are actually going to talk about something pretty cool in the game space here, or something that I'm personally looking forward to. But for the moment, we're going to talk about the. We're going to finish with Ubisoft because I want to move past them. But there's two stories that I know, culture. I know. You think about in this economy and how much money people have and how much money people need and whether or not they can afford to spend anything on a game right now. And well, we got Ubisoft over here. Another rumor saying that they allegedly spent between 650 and 850 million on its quadruple A game, Skull and Bones.
I believe it.
I gotta say, the dialogue about this game, I haven't heard much about anyone actually playing it. This October 1st by John Trent, rumor claims that Ubisoft allegedly spent between 650 and 850 on the game. Here's another thing about Endymion's videos right now. He has a different strategy than I would. He had like 8 headlines in that video. And it was an amazing wealth of information that we're all taking notes here on what Endymion is being sent here. But here's what he said. I was told that the project that ruined Ubisoft was not actually Outlaws or Shadows. It was actually Skull and Bones. My sources told me that they have seen multiple different versions of the game that were completely different over the years. They said they were told that the budget was spent on Skull and Bones. It ranged between 650 to 850 million over 10 years. he added, and that Skull and Bones failed so badly for Ubisoft, it was the actual reason why they're dying the way that they are. He said, it's not actually Outlaws or Shadows, if you can believe it. They sunk a legendary amount of resources into that game, and it clearly did not work out for them at all. I don't think anybody is really playing Skull and Bones right now.
They made this. This is the one they made in Singapore, right? I'm sure it was Ubisoft Singapore that did this. They were getting an enormous amount of tax breaks on this. One of the backstories to Skull and Bones was because they opened a studio to make this game specifically, and they were getting the tax breaks they were from Singapore by hiring people, by adhering to their standards, by doing what they were doing, that they just kept this going because on paper, it all looked good and it was boosting the company's value until, obviously, it came out.
You're right. And Ubisoft Singapore was the studio on this one. And that's from Jean-Francois Valley over there in Singapore. They worked some on Valhalla and Odyssey in the past, but at this point, money is spent. But here's one of my favorite comments. This is why we call this a quadruple A game. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot infamously described Skull and Bones as a quadruple A game and attempted to justify the game's price tag of $70 during the company's Q3 sales call for fiscal year 2024 back in February, about a week before the game's released. He was asked by one investor, could you maybe unpack for us the decision to price it at $70? You've recently certainly emphasized that it's designed for a lot of live services. What drove the decision to make the game pay to play when you could presumably limit the size of player base and therefore PRI in the game? Guillemot responded, you will see that Skull and Bones is a fully fledged game. You can see it on the market today. It's a very big game, and we feel that people will really see how vast and complete that game is. It's a really full AAA, quadruple A game that will deliver in the long run.
He's drinking his own Kool-Aid.
I truly
think he spiked his own Kool-Aid, let alone drank it. So.
Yeah, and I always think it's a danger when your subject is piracy in the video game space.
Yeah.
But if Microsoft couldn't make their Pirates game successful, why did they think they could? Especially, I don't know. It's just.
I wonder if they were looking at Black Flag and thinking, oh, well, people will enjoy this and we'll have something that we can put out there that's not Assassin's Creed, but still goes into that specific area. You know, that reminds me that Assassin's Creed Black Flag, I was playing that at the same time that the Wii U had released the Wind Waker remake. So it was two games where you spent a lot of time sailing the seas. Whatever. I'm just getting nostalgic for games I like at this point.
But that's Black a showing Flag of was how bad. Go ahead.
Sorry, but Black Flag, they stripped out what made Black Flag fun, which was the single player and the on the seas parts, right? So it was a mixture of two things. And yes, they did the ocean parts or the sailing the seas part fun. But at the end of the day, it was still, it wasn't just that. It was a mixture of two things. So they stripped that all out. And what did they expect? I mean, you can't do, I don't know. It's like they don't understand their own product. It's baffling.
Well, and the only thing you had to, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, this game is also, I believe, on Ubisoft Anvil. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is on Anvil.
Yeah, and so, it has a different look and feel. It is not popular. You have about a 65% score on this on Steam. And at current, as we talk about it, only about 355 people are playing it on Steam or with it attached to Steam.
I'm also going to point out that the Assassin's Creed Shadows, that one is reportedly using Anvil as well.
Yeah. And this is also slid. Sorry, Loki. I promise I'll let you talk in a sec. But it's also fallen all the way from that $70 price point down to $60 when it hit Steam, all the way down to $24 on Steam at various points in time.
When Loki's done, I do have a comment on the pricing, but go ahead, Loki.
Yeah.
All I was going to say was, in Black Flag, you only had really 2 things to grind, and that was the whaling portion where you get the water animals like the whales and all that, which is fun. I mean, I can sit there, yo ho ho boys, it's a pirate life all day long with that spear and that boat and just have fun. The other one was the sea shanties, and everybody I want all the sea shanties. That way I can sing with my boys, as we're sailing the seas, because that's one of the coolest parts of the game. So both those things you had to grind for were like, I really want to do this. They really got me interested. It's worth it. They're great game mechanics to grind.
Right.
This up here does not have great game mechanics to grind. It's just grind. The last couple of Assassin's Creed games are just level grinding, item grinding, and it's boring.
Well,
it's so boring.
And if you want to skip it, Loki, what do you have to do?
Pay. You got to pay.
Right.
Yeah. So we've got them possibly, getting near $1 billion on making a game. Ridiculous amount of money to be spending on a game like this, especially for a game that I don't know how many people are playing this game at this point. It's not in the cultural conversation except as a warning to others. And then Ubisoft decides in the background, this from the same video, but rumor Ubisoft's upcoming Assassin's Creed Hex will be the gayest Assassin's Creed yet.
They looked at Disney's marketing and said, this is working for them for Marvel and Star Wars. So let's go ahead.
Buy beer.
Yeah.
We'll have that one guy from Wired or whatever, Variety, who always is on the red carpet. He's like, "Is this the gayest insert brand here?"
Yes.
Like that one dude.
Yeah.
Well, Guillemot told Iger, "Here, hold this."
Yeah. He said, "Hey, hang on to this for me. I'm going to go out there and market this in the worst possible way."
Well, we have, of course, The Acolyte came out earlier this year from Disney, and it was described as the gayest Star Wars yet. They were set up for that question, which I'm having to think that at this point that Disney sent the interviewers that question so that they could be set up to ask the Amanda Stenberg and Leslie Headland that question, and then and that of course created the clip that launched 1,000 YouTube videos. And now we have this guy from Variety, that talks a little bit like this, and he asks,
like Harvey Firestein.
This has been like he's kind of like Jiminy Glick in a way, and I think Jiminy Glick is hilarious. Asking every single person coming down the red carpet, so Agatha all along, a completely different show about a lesbian coven of witches that starts with an A that also features singing. And he asks every single one of the stars of the show, so I'm hearing this referred to as the gayest Marvel show yet. And now here we are.
That's gonna save it. That really is.
I would love to see him at a grocery store and just like going to the clerk. So is this the gayest apple you guys have ever sold, or?
But the quote from Endymion in the above video, Endymion shared, "I was also told that the next Assassin's Creed, which is called Hex, which is set during the Salem witch trials, was being internally claimed, and get this, to be the gayest Assassin's Creed yet," which is saying something, since apparently Yasuke can have any option during the game. I'm told that it only has a single female protagonist. It's also the most fantastical Assassin's Creed yet. He continued, "There'll be lots of mysticism and will also have, as they said, very striking visuals. I don't know if that means an entirely different art style or anything, but this is what I was told." Next, he said, "I was told it will be an open world action game like the other ones, but from what I've been told, it's the biggest departure yet for the series. My sources claim that Hex is very, very female power oriented. We are talking lots of lesbian relationships and female characters. It has witch covens and apparently very little masculine presence within the game. Although my sources told me that they believe the game will be scaled down in the future and then made into a Liberation-esque game instead of a mainline title." I think that's a pretty safe assumption at this point. So we're getting into the two nickels thing again on this. Actually, let's add him in here because I think he's a perfect person to add into this conversation. Spencer, I'm so glad you're joining us today.
Hey, happy to be here.
just right when we get onto the spicy topic. So we've got the third thing in a row that has lesbian witches, and I'm getting tired of trying to reserve judgment on all of this stuff, but it feels like it's an endless stream of, by the way, here's another thing.
Do you remember, Jonas?
I'm
do you
seeing
remember
a pattern here. Spencer, am I going insane? Is there a pattern here?
I'm probably not the right person to ask for this topic because unfortunately I don't buy any of these rumors from Endymon, period. So I'm probably the wrong person.
No, it's okay. If we do know that Hex is coming out, we do know that it has a.
We do.
It does have a coven as a theme. The rest of this stuff, I don't know if it's fill in the blank kind of things, but
because here's my problem with the Endymon rumors, and I know everybody's been citing them and talking about them for the last few days. All this Assassin's Creed, I have all these Ubisoft insiders. The problem with my skepticism arises from the fact that he spent the last week or however long it's been since the Ghost of Yote reveal, sort of doubling down, tripling down, writing off all of his critics, refusing to, like, he was one of those people who went, female protagonist, this is woke, this is awful, we're done, oh my goodness. And when people were like, dude, maybe that's not it, he just spent the entire week corn cobbing and doubling down. So when he all of a sudden comes out with a video that just happens to back up everything he was saying for the past week that everybody was getting on him for, I tend to go, I'm going to wait for, verification elsewhere.
Fair enough. And it could be that someone reaches out and says, let me tell you, everything that you just said is actually true. That can happen in this space, and you always have to be wary of that. Now,
who's the guy that, what's his name? Mike
Zero.
Mike Zero. Yeah, we got to be careful not to Mike
Zero.
Yeah,
exactly. Mike Zero.
Well, I'm not comparing Endymion to Mike Zero. I think Mike Zero, I don't know who Mike Zero sources are, but
I heard it's a bird, a big bird.
I don't think it's a bird.
I'm telling you right now, the flash drives that he finds on park benches and parking lots and everything else are really handy. They're really handy.
Culture, you do a great Mike Zero.
Thank you for that.
Let's continue here. As for why it will likely get scaled down, he said mostly because Ubisoft does not have confidence that Hex will sell well at all, and this too was put in development when a lot of these pandering were first being pitched or made. Internally, I was being told the developers behind Hex joked that the game will indeed anger the fan base and that they wanted to make it anyways. There are some things about this that ring true to me, regardless of how true they are. For just to be clear, I think Endymion is probably right, and I do think he has a source. I'm just disagreeing with you on that, Spencer. I'm not saying you're wrong.
That's fine.
It'll only bear out because disagreement is fine. It's better for conversation, anyways. There was a video that came out earlier today that had a lot of specificity on a alleged previous story arc for Yusuke. Sorry, not Yusuke, Shadows, because Yusuke wasn't in it or was very light in the story. I'm sure they would have figured out a way to put him in the game because anyone that was ever involved would end up in a Assassin's Creed game because that's how they roll. But I don't know. I can believe all of the elements of this. It's also exactly what we would want to hear as far as a company going so far down the rabbit hole, not caring what their fans think, not caring what the people who actually pay their bills think, and going on. Does anybody have anything else they want to throw in here before we move on to super chats and then a non-gay witch topic?
Do you remember back when people were complaining that you had choices in a game as far as like male, female options, and certain people, Nita for one, I remember her talking about it, where you shouldn't have choice. It should just be this. You shouldn't be able to go and pick this or that or the other. Like some of the old Assassin's Creed games. I can see them finally falling in line and going, you know what? We're not going to make it to where you can be male or female. We're just going to we're just going to pick for you. And this is what we're going to do. And everything will be fine because everyone's into this new concept about ESG and blah, blah, blah. I can totally see them doing that. They're finally listening to the people that never played any of these games in the first place. So let them sink.
They've got to do something here, or their funding sources will also dry up. I can't imagine giving money to Ubisoft right now that wasn't guaranteed with some pretty heavy collateral. Like I think the brands themselves that Ubisoft owns and has the licenses to are more valuable than the company itself. And when you start to get to the point where the assets of the company are worth more than the stock value of the company, you're in danger of just having some random person buy up all your stock out of the blue. I don't know what the French protections are on that, but I think Ubisoft is in massive danger at this point. But let's go to.
I think we may be understating that, Jonas, because again, it doesn't take a majority of shareholders to boil your soup. It takes 30% of them to get together and foul your soup, which is kind of what they're threatening to do. And I did find it interesting, as you brought up yesterday, that it's the Guimond brothers themselves that are investigating the Guimond brothers. Their internal investigation of the board doesn't really do any good. The reason your games stink is because of this agenda stuff. But anyway, those are just my thoughts.
I might be a dissenting. Sorry, Nolan. I might be a dissenting voice, but I don't believe Ubisoft will disappear anytime soon. And I think disappear. I know that's hard to say, but because of the way their stock is, but I think they'll go private. Might rearrange some things, but.
Well,
Ubisoft, I don't know. I don't know what I wouldn't happen to know how they manage their bankruptcies, but I would imagine it's just easier to go bankrupt, restructure, and then emerge and become private. That's just what I think is probably the most logical path. I don't know a better way to go about it. It's a good way to get rid of a lot of activists in your organization, a lot of bad seeds. And if you're trying to desperately hang on to the ownership of the company you founded, that's also another way to kind of build some strength. But I see France and its political leanings right now, and I think the court system would probably bail them out in some way, shape, or form. And that's just my 100% pure opinion, but I've seen bigger people that should probably be decimated by this point survive, and it always fascinates me how that happens. So 20 years ago, I would agree they'd be dust, but now, I don't know. It's a weird world we live in where people that shouldn't survive, and what's the saying? Failing upwards tends to happen nowadays.
Upwards, yes.
I agree with Dave in the idea that, especially in video games, these companies won't disappear if not solely for the fact that Ubisoft's got IP that somebody will want to try to do something with, regardless of what state it's in right now. Like Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, I can see somebody buying it up. 10 years later, guess what? We're doing Far Cry right, come back or whatever. So it'll always be around. I think Dave's right, but I definitely don't know if they can last at this level for much longer. PlayStation
that's not saying I don't think they deserve what they are getting. I think they deserve.
Oh no, for sure, yeah.
But whether they will, it's a weird world we live in.
Well, just understand that you are correct. They do have things that are worth owning, but I don't think they'll be they won't be a solo studio anymore. If they're
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they'll get bought.
Yeah. So their IP is valuable, but I don't know, Jonas. Any thoughts? Because I know we need to get to some super chats and such. So
we do need to get to some super chats, but no, I think very little unless someone pays me to read their thoughts online. Jacob Foxfires for $10. Oh yeah, there was also PSN going down. I've seen a post saying that they had a lot of multiplayer games. He booted up Modern Warfare 2 campaign, but since it can't verify the license, it shut down. Nightmare. Yeah, I'm hearing the outage was about 2 hours, but I haven't seen anybody in the daylight hours complaining about it. Of course, it's a global company, so that was. I don't think it's on the scale of what was going on, more than a decade ago or so ago, where they had to give out multiple free games to apologize. But by the way, free games that everybody probably owned already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been a lot of strange outages, and I put that in air quotes the last year.
Well, yeah, and including what, yesterday or day before yesterday, that made me very angry.
I mean, it's video games though. What's the conspiracy? Walk me through it, guys. What's the tinfoil hat here?
About what?
about all these mysterious outages happening at the same time? What's the tinfoil hat?
It's just the frequency of them is mysterious to me.
Testing out capabilities of knocking out any network on a large scale. I'm not
reaching.
Okay, but I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying there's any kind of conspiracy at all. I'm saying it's really annoying, and it's one of the reasons I hate live service games, is because outages will make it so you cannot play something that you bought. That's ridiculous. And the state of California, real quickly, state of California just instituted a law that requires that if you are not actually selling somebody a physical item. Yeah, physical item and or something that they will own forever, that you have to disclose that you are only merely selling them a license as an opportunity to use it. That's it.
Yeah, and that's part of my point, is how easy this happens, right? So
it's going to be interesting. And again, this is the other reason I hate the idea of having to be connected to this stuff, because if they think that you said a bad word or you were mean to somebody, you said a mean thing to somebody, they're going to have it in their power, based on their terms of service, to knock you out of something that you paid $60, $70 for.
And your use if you have a library.
Disappear. Yeah, I mean, I would, and at that point, all holy heck is going to break loose. So, just saying.
All right. Jamie Camp for $1.99 British pounds. Did Ubisoft do the panic certainties? Maybe. I don't know what this means. Can anyone translate this for me?
I don't know. I heard a rumor that Sony's the one who's been pushing them so hard to maintain a certain rating as far as what they're doing. It'd be really funny if that was true and Ubisoft went bankrupt, Sony bought them out, and Sony's the one who's been pushing them to have all this in their games in the first place. I'd laugh my butt off if that happened.
I think he clarified further on, Jonas.
Well, so patent. Is that the ability to the inability to avoid things that you're already worried about? Is that what that refers to?
I'm not sure.
Okay,
right.
Just trying to break it down.
See. Base player iffy. We'll try to come back to it. Base player iffy for $4.99. Here is what I've been playing recently: Black Mesa, Half-Life 2, Portal 1 and 2, Left 4 Dead, Original Dead Rising, and Cuphead. Notice something.
Yeah.
Awesome games.
If only they could put most of those games into a sort of box and maybe color it orange and maybe make it stand out to everybody.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Those are all really fantastic choices. Just hearing the old orange box stuff, the Half-Life 2, the Portal, it hit me with a wave of nostalgia I was not expecting.
Yeah. I noticed something. They're all good games. They're all older games.
Yeah.
Unlike Ubisoft, Valve is very much still alive.
Although, well,
Valve is an engine that just drives selling things now. It doesn't make things, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
It's profitable, but I wouldn't say they're a game developer per se anymore. They more like focus on infrastructure with Steam.
Well, they've got
that new one coming out, that new awful hero shooter that no one's really hot on. But
Mike Zero said Half-Life 3 is coming out though
today.
Wait, did he actually say that? What, really? Okay.
But Valve's got the best like engine for game launcher on PC. No one even comes close. Epic doesn't come close. Ubisoft doesn't. None of them. EA. None of them come anywhere near what Steam has. Steam has more games on it than you could ever play in your entire life.
Well, and I like how seamless and breezy it is to just update stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's already done.
Yep.
Pinochet's helicopter tours for $2. Parents who grew up in the never pre-order world. Oh man, I used to go into GameStop every day and I'll put a little bit here on my next pre-order, put a little bit there on my next pre-order. And then I realized essentially I was buying something. Well, sometimes it worked out really well. And many more times though, it worked out to, this is going to be something that I put, let's say $60 on. I'm going to get about $20 back when I return it. and then I'm going to put that towards the next thing that I'm going to pre-order. I don't know. It's just it's a bad cycle, and too much of that money was used to support bad games.
Well, and I always have to ask myself this question: how much money was GameStop making on the float?
I'll tell you that because I went in there and asked them just 5 days ago, how much is an Xbox Series X trade-in? $75 Canadian. An X.
That's crazy.
And I laughed at the guy and walked out. So it's still as bad as it used
crazy.
To be. And they were selling the used for about $5.75. So that's the spread they're making off it to this day.
Well, but I mean on the pre-orders, when you went into GameStop and you gave them $5.
Oh, I apologize. Okay.
No. But you made a great point. You don't have to apologize. Well done. No, but you I would put $5 down, right? And then on a game, what did they do with that $5? It wasn't a realized sale. So what did they do with all the pre-order money?
I think it was a gift. I think it was a gift card purchase.
Really?
Yeah, it counts as. I mean, do you want to get into accounting for gift cards? That's a
no, because that may
that's what Disney does.
Exactly. That may eventually prove to be Disney's undoing if anybody ever finishes that investigation.
Yeah. All right. Let's continue on though, because Jamie Camp did. Okay. I found it. It turns out this is why I didn't find it, because I was looking for a white follow-up chat. But, Jamie Camp sent in another $2 to clarify. Sorry, the Olympic ceremonies. Yeah, sorry, £2. Sorry, the Olympic ceremonies. I meant yes, there was some kind of Ubisoft interaction there. There was some kind of hooded character at the Olympics. Let's see if I can figure out how StreamYard works here. Yeah, there was some kind of Ubisoft interaction here. So, yep, they were involved, and I'm sure they signed off on it, because this is France, as it were.
It's France. The original parkour dude that was, did you ever see that little short film they made?
I did not.
Yeah, it was very cool. The guy actually did parkour and stuff. I guess they used a lot of him to model what they were doing in the games. He did a lot of the stuff, the jumping between things and all that. But anyway. Sorry, once we're done with supers, I got something to show off. So,
all right, is it not the next story? Tanil89 for 5. Loki, I think kids are more likely to just go outside and play than listen to lectures in games. Lectures are a chore and take effort to listen to.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you.
Not when they got chemicals in the air.
You're absolutely right. They'll just go out and play.
Acid Rain, Spencer? Anybody? In the 80s?
Yeah, I guess it's good for development.
45 years we've been hearing about it.
You know what the one of the scariest things I've ever seen on TV was the South Park thing when the coof was going on, where you see all the kids outside and they're at the park, but they're all standing there like zombies because they've got nothing but like the VR. That scares the crap out of me. You know what? Games are fun. Games are good. But there's a time to play, and there's time to work, and there's time to do things. And that's the main thing you got to teach the kids is, yeah, you get this, but it's a reward. It's like an end of the day thing. You get them into that. Not this whole, like, just let the corporations take over and completely control what your kids are doing and what your kids are thinking. So,
that's the problem with the phones and the tablets, right? Is, you're basically letting your kids disconnect all the time.
Isn't it odd, though, that games in general did not kind of take off the way they hoped on phones, but instead these weird little TikTok 5-second videos did? It's like a weird...
Yeah, it's because the mobile thing, it was that sort of like that fork in the road moment, right? Like developers saw, we could use this for a full-blown RPG platform. One of my favorite App Store games was this game Song Summoner, where you could use songs from your library like on your iPhone, and it would read it and it would summon up a special unit depending exactly on that song, and it was awesome. And so like you had games like that, but then a lot of the other more tech pro-y casual people went, we can just make $700 in one day before our app gets taken down by making trash. Let's just do that. And that sort of is what took off, unfortunately. It was cheaper. They were all free. So they're colorful and they're not complicated because they're, the developers aren't really in it, and they don't have to because it's for kids. So it's sort of the low effort there's a term for it. You guys know what I mean.
Yeah. I'm reminded of a game that we had an iPad for trips, and I let my daughter play on something silly. It was a strawberry shortcake game, and we don't even go towards those kinds of games anymore. And forever, she wanted the $5 in-app purchase for more ingredients. And I mean, it was maybe a year and a half that I said, no. And she's like, I'll pay my own money. I'm like, oh my goodness, this little girl wanting to pay her own money to do it. So whatever. A year and a half again that she was asking for this thing. And I'm like, if it was a toy, she would have forgotten it by now, whatever. I finally pay the $5. You know what happened? It was immediately replaced with here's a $25 purchase you can make as well. Like, I hate you people forever. You horrible, horrible people. Here I was thinking, I will never have to answer this question again. And they just doubled down. I hate in-app purchases on useless games. Drives me insane. To Neil89, dislikes, aka dislikes puns for 2. Oh dear, who made that Kool-Aid? Jim Jones? Don't drink it if he made it. By the way, it was not actual name brand.
Flavor Aid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. We've got a pair that I want to read together here. Butter Biscuit 92 for $5. And I'm going to defend Spencer on this. Did Spencer eat crow on Yote? That game may not be woke, but hiring an activist never ends up well, and they're blocking and attacking fans. So we don't know if the game is woke. That's not been proven in either direction. We do know that the voice actress is woke, but finding a voice actor who spouts all of the message is not difficult in any way, especially the way that they hire anymore these days. I'll give X-Men 97 as an example. What is the name of the person? I'm going to say person because we're on YouTube.
Oh, Morph or whatever?
Yeah.
Whoever voices Morph. I don't remember their name.
Yeah, I think maybe Carlock. Anyways, that person is they're an activist. But that doesn't enter into the role itself. So I'm still waiting to see on Yote. That is a game that may not come out until 2026. So it remains to be seen. It could be woke today and not woke by the time it comes out. It could be not woke today and woke by the time it comes out. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to stick up for Spencer on this one. I do think he made a very good point of we don't need to jump in shadows every single time this happens.
Can I add something onto that?
Yeah, Jonas? Thanks, Jonas. And just hold on, just to add, Jonas took the words right out of my mouth. You covered it all.
Sorry, thank you, Spencer. Go ahead, Loki.
If Sucker Punch did not want her to be talking about all this stuff with relation to a game, she wouldn't be. It'd be in her contract. Just like actors, actresses that sit there and shoot their mouths off right before a movie comes out. All you got to do is go, look, here it is in the contract. If they can write up a contract that says you will make so many appearances before the movie comes out, you go on the Today Show, you do this, you do that, then they can make a contract that says, don't open your mouth until after the game comes out. Once the game comes out, you can say whatever you want, but no spouting BS, and that's part of the job. Go ahead. And I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm just saying if Sucker Punch didn't want her to say something, they put it in the contract. Hey, don't spout off any BS until this is done and over with. Don't make us look bad.
But I'm also going to push back on that and say that a lot of the stuff that she's out there talking about that people are getting on her case about are from years ago. They're not.
Oh no, I know.
So a lot of the people are going, oh, look, so you can't, even if they had her sign the contract, that's before she was the representative of Yote, before anybody knew she was in there. I think that's not a fair comparison to harangue her on.
I'm saying anything now, anything she says.
Right,
now.
but she hasn't yet.
And I understand
people, but she hasn't yet. So you can't say that that's what's happening.
I didn't say. I said any company that doesn't want this to happen would have that in the contract. I'm not talking about her specifically. I understand what's going on with her. I understand why people are upset. Do I think they should take something she said from 5 years ago and use it today? No, not really. Unless she's saying it all now. But if they don't want her to say something, just put it in a contract. Same with actors, same with voice actors, same with all of them. Just put it in the contract that says you can't talk like you represent us while before this comes out. After that, whatever, we don't care.
Right. The other thing I'll also point out here for this is there are probably people within Sucker Punch. I mean, if you look at some other studios that are Sony studios, their community managers and things like that are within the company that would be very supportive of the kinds of things that this voice act Erica Ishii, is that her name, would talk about. So I don't know that they would want to go on record saying don't talk about any of this stuff. Also, a game that's going to come out for a year and a half, that gets them in a different territory of controlling speech for a very long period of time. I think in the age of social media, there's so much danger to these studios right now. I do believe that Sony is probably watching what the social media discourse about Ghosts of Yotei is. If they're not, well, they're foolish after what just happened with Assassin's Creed Shadows. I really want to wait and see what is going on with Ghosts of. We're going to report on it every single time, and I'm going to try really hard to reserve judgment. But I think that they're going to make it very clear very soon. And the opinions of one person won't be enough to push me in this direction. If it turns out the director of the game or the director of the studio comes out and says that it is, I don't know. We're trying to perceive something through the mist here, and that's I'm saying this to everybody, not to you, Loki, not to Spencer, just to everybody in general.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everything Spencer's saying, I agree with. So don't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm the guy that's like, don't judge a book by its cover. That is me completely.
Yeah.
I think
there's an initial reaction people had.
Yeah.
But to take something she said from 5 years ago or some BS like that, that's just BS.
Yeah.
I want to see what the game's about. If they can do a character like they did in 1, that lady that lost her whole family, I was like, girl, you go out and you chop suey them guys and you take out the Mongols. And I was right down there with her. I was like, girl, you go. You lost your daughters, your grandkids, your boys, your husband got burned alive right at the beginning of the game. Go to town, woman. So if they do the story good, I don't really care what her political views are in her personal life.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Well, amen.
Here's on the same subject here in a way. To Neil89 for 5. Thank you for your 10th super chat, by the way. Endymion's source could be a message written on a bathroom stall, but the bigger issue is that its content is so believable.
Yes.
Isn't that really the issue when it comes down to it?
Okay, I'm going to push back against this a little bit in that I agree. I see what you're saying, and it has merit. But I also we live in a time when anybody could say anything, and we could convince ourselves that, oh yeah, this is definitely going to happen. I mean, I've seen people going, oh, they're going to transify Peter Parker. Just watch them do it. And I'm like, we know the ridiculousness of the DEI pushes and everything, but there's still reality that we live in. Yeah. And like they're not going to do that to Spider-Man, but people will believe that and they'll run with that as the narrative just because it fits sort of the narrative they want to believe. And so, yeah, I kind of am not 100% on that train.
No, I think he's joking, Spencer. I think it's okay. It's okay. Base player iffy for $4.99. AC Hex play as a whiny and spiteful woman that killed 20 people. Sounds fun. Yeah, I have no desire to go into the Salem witch trials era here, especially with Ubisoft right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's not going to go well. And again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Ubisoft is a fail train, and consider that the all-time peak gameplay for people connected to Steam or using Steam to play Skull and Bones specifically, which is a game we talked about a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. The all-time peak player count was 2,581.
Ooh. Oh my.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's we really haven't been focusing on the right thing, which is the few players that actually exist for these incredibly expensive games. And one of the reasons they pivoted to live service was to try to, benefit and cash in on whales, people who would pay to play that didn't want to grind. Right. So it doesn't really matter if it's Hex. It doesn't matter if it's Skull and Bones. It doesn't matter what it is. If they believe that the only way they can monetize their games now isn't to provide a high quality, game up front that you'll get millions of people to buy, but to, focus in on a handful of, these whales, they're in big trouble because there aren't that many whales, and the economy is, Nolan pointed out, is in the dumpster. So
right. Well, you have to have something that's very clear to monetize off of right at the start if you're going to go for that. Sorry,
unless you're Concord. See, don't forget Concord.
They did have monetization up front. You had to pay $40 to play it.
That's right.
Jay Murr for $5. Hi guys, tried Zelda Echoes of Wisdom yet? I have some nitpicks, but I can recommend the game. I haven't seen anything that could be DEI, but I haven't beat it yet. I have not played it. Yeah, it just came out.
Yeah,
it wasn't DEI that worried me though. It was kind of the kiddie factor of it, right? Like.
It was a little immature looking. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've never. It looks good, but I've never been like that Link's Awakening style, like the new one. It looks good. It's technically great. It just doesn't work for me, and I can never really place what it is because I'm not against kiddie per se, but something about this doesn't work for me. So I'm with you right there.
I'm just saying, like, it's geared towards maybe like an age group that is much younger than me, so I might enjoy it.
That might be
my brain is kind of fixed. Like, this is like, I'm almost playing with dolls, and nothing against people that do that, but I'm a little too old for this kind of game, and that's just me.
Yeah, they look like,
some other people might love this. I don't have anything against that.
It looks like Russian stacking dolls, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's perfect culture. That's what they look like.
Yeah,
but that's been kind of a thing, like with the Final Bar Line. I don't know if any of you guys played Final Bar Line on Switch.
No.
It's a Final Fantasy game, but it's like a trance music game. All the characters look like the like what culture's talking about, like the little Russian
nesting
mini dolls that has doll.
Yeah.
They all look odd. All of them look odd, but it's a cool game nonetheless, even with the crappy art style.
Mm-hmm. This game can prove a really good point, though, because you think about it, a lot of people on this panel, it's not, of course, not speaking for everybody here, but it's not their first choice in what they would like to see in a Zelda game, but that's okay. It definitely still is going to land with a very big market. The difference between, say, Echoes of Wisdom and, say, I don't know, like one of Ubisoft's games is they put in their game something that's for a different kind of audience, and they act like that's for everybody needs to love this game. Nintendo don't play that way. It's like, hey, this is a cuter Zelda game. It is what it is, and if you don't like it, you cannot buy it. And they're not going to act like you're like a demon for not buying the game. It's great.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say the budget is probably in line for this one. It's Grezzo and Nintendo EPD. I'm imagining that they probably didn't have to rewrite the engine from scratch or anything like that. It will make its money eventually. I actually don't mind the art style. It's, again, not my first choice, but for the kind of game that it is, I don't mind the kiddiness of it. So
I would agree with that. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Tennille89 dislikes puns for 5. Conspiracies take a lot of work. Never attribute to malice, which can also be adequately explained by stupidity.
Amen.
Or incompetence.
Incompetence. Fail upward, everyone. Fail.
Yeah, or in some cases, an entrenched bureaucracy that is self-interested.
There you go.
They need to work harder on some of these video game conspiracies. I want like a Gunpei Yokoi's head like frozen, and he's trying to like have like Wario take over the gaming industry. I want something crazy.
That makes me so sad. Radial Drago for £5. Would Endymion be liable for a lawsuit if the rumors aren't true? I don't think so. At this point.
Nah. He did explicitly label it as rumor.
He's firmly ensconced in rumor territory, so I think he's fine.
Yep. Makini draws, for 20. I'm with Spencer. Let's not jump the gun completely until there's more evidence and we have more footage to see. However, what I expect is that this is going to be the next point of contention for this culture war bologna sausage.
Hey.
I think we'll have some in between now and then, but yeah, I agree.
Well, this
is going to be a focal point.
Here's the problem. That we keep saying, and we're not being very explicit about it, but so I'm just going to say it. We're not necessarily jumping at ghosts, but we've been conditioned to have a reaction anytime we have a female protagonist, anytime that exists. And that's a form of conditioning. You are expecting the wokest possible outcome now. So that's just why we always go there. It's why, I took extra levels of effort last Tuesday for me to keep my cool when Yotai showed up. Because, and fortunately I had somebody right there like Spencer just saying, it may look woke, but it we don't know yet. And that's really the best way to approach it. Because as Jonas pointed out a few minutes ago, we just have to acknowledge that that it will reveal itself soon enough. We won't have to guess anymore.
Somebody's I'm with you, Culture. And I
speak out.
Yeah. I just want to add that I've noticed there is, and I'm not talking about DEI, I've noticed that there is a pendulum swing the last 15 years from who the main character is in games. So we've gone from more or less a majority of men as the main characters or whatever, it could be a robot or whatever, more of a male-driven character, to a big shift over to the other side, which is what I always call the pendulum swing, an over-adjustment now to let's always put it doesn't matter if it's DEI, it's always got to be a female character now. I've noticed that. I've made note in that in my brain. And it is an overcorrection, I think, in the market. And they have to kind of swing back to the middle, which is concentrate on story. What makes the most sense for this character? I do get a little tired of thinking, and we've had the discussion before, that an 80-pound woman can take down a 385-pound man. It just makes no sense in reality. But, it is a story, so does it fit?
Right. And there's a lot of Sony studios that are doing that right now, very specifically of taking a franchise that had a male character and then, here is also the female character,
we had plenty of those. We had plenty of female games. We had a lot of female games. We had Chicks in Dead or Alive series. They had their own beach volleyball game. We had Blood Rain. We had Tomb Raider, Lara Croft and Tomb Raider. We had Perfect Dark. What was her name? Very Dark or Blood.
Samus.
I mean, we had Samus. We have women in games going back decades. What's the difference now? We live in an eye-rolling age where they're going to make it absolutely lame, and the other word that Cartman uses. That is the difference between then and now. Gamers don't have one single problem with a female protagonist that rocks, that struts her stuff, that doesn't take no crap off anybody. We have no problem with that.
Lara Croft was a favorite for gamers. Think about that. How many posters are probably still hanging up below many other layers of posters at GameStop that had Lara Croft featured on them. It's like all the way through
Lara,
the first.
By the way,
Lara Croft.
It's Laura.
Anyway.
Butter Biscuit 92 for 5. And by the way, Makani, thank you very much for the very generous.
Very generous, yeah, indeed.
Butter Biscuit 92 for 5. My point, Jonas, was the hiring of an activist to be the face of the franchise, which in my opinion is not a good look, which could affect the reception. You're totally right. Totally right on that. I think right now, with only that aspect being front and center, and I did have a Ghost of Yotai or Yote. I'll get that pronunciation down sometime between now and 2026. We were going to have a story covering it, but we've already talked about it enough. It has nothing to do with DEI, but it was about gameplay. But yes, I agree. It's very distracting when you're trying to make a game, and we all agree with this. When you're trying to make a game, having somebody say that, oh, well, this is actually about this other thing right here. This is actually about some current day political message that we need to fight over right now, as opposed to just letting the story say what it says and people can apply it however they want to apply it. I could come up with 3 other examples from movies right now, but this is that game place.
Jonas, here you go. We made this game 7 years ago because who became the leader of the free world. Really?
Right.
You spent 8 years making a game because things didn't turn out your way? Then this is your way to stick it to the man. Oh, give me a break.
Exactly. Bunkwaddle for $2. Anyone interested in Metaphor Refantasio by Atlas?
Never heard of it.
I have to look this up.
I'll be playing it.
Cool.
I mean, sometimes when you get older, you need Metamucil. So
it was a dad joke. Come on.
It was a good dad joke.
Is it Altus or Atlas?
Atlas.
I'm missing this here. Tennille 89 for 2. The word is
twee.
Twee.
Yeah. I think that's referring to the little art style of the wisdom of the flute.
Oh, I
thing.
see. Yeah. Also, there's like a vignette effect on all of the frames that it kind of gets foggier the further away from the focal point you get. There's just Nintendo's great at taking a design and taking it to its fullest extent. I appreciate that about them. We're going to be covering them negatively here in just a moment about a game that maybe you guys have played. Jacob Foxfires for $5. Issues arise when the real world is more parody than parody. Yep. That's the problem.
Today.
The satire sites are running out of satire because it keeps coming true.
Is that like more human than human? I hear a song.
Mm-hmm.
More human than human? How?
Makini draws for $10. Let me explain more clearly. When I said point of contention, I mean this will be the next battleground because you will have two warring sides fighting over this game. So the other thing I'll add here is it can be, see, I was right. And other people will look at the same thing and see, no, I was right. Looking at the same evidence. This is the thing that I think comes with the longer I'm on this earth, the more I realize that two people can honestly look at the same data and come to two different conclusions. And it doesn't mean that either side is lying or insincere necessarily.
Well, but one of them is based in reality and the other is delusional. So yeah.
But that's not even entirely always true, but okay.
Also, you'll notice that the one side, and I won't mention who we're talking about, will not put their money where their mouths are. But we will. We'll either not, we'll put it in with the product or we won't. And we'll make our statement that way a lot more times than they'll be very boisterous and tend not to support something. And then it fails. And then they blame us for not buying it. Then they tell us it's not for us. So make up your minds. Either put your money where your mouth is and prove something, or don't. Don't make a big stink about it if you're not willing to invest in it, I say. And that's just my opinion on the matter.
Tennille 89 for 2. Pattern recognition isn't unreasonable. Agreed?
Yeah,
not a problem with keeping track.
Pattern recognition isn't unreasonable, but tilting at windmills is. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Hey, am I tilting at windmills?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good way to get decapitated.
But let me just continue to be the Sancho Panza of this that Gameplays live stream. Makini draws for $5. She will pull a Rachel Zegler and run her mouth, causing war with both sides, which will be the huge controversy. We'll be talking about Rachel Zegler tomorrow on that Park Place because there's a new expose in which not an expose. It's supposed to be a puff piece about her, and it just makes her look awful. But
I read it.
Yeah. Here's the opportunity that Ghosts of Yotei and Sucker Punch and Sony has right now. Get this woman off of social media. Don't have her comment on anything about this game. And Loki kind of made this point earlier. If Sony lets the only dialogue about this game for the next year come from whoever this activist voice actress is, that will be Sony's mistake.
Erika Ishii.
Because in a vacuum, while people are looking at this and like I've said, we're all trying to figure out what's going on with this game. Because guess what? We would all like to play a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima.
Yes,
and
we would.
It is their game sales to lose at this point.
I just reloaded it on the PlayStation. I just reloaded it.
Except for the fact that I played through that game on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, and then I went back and I platinumed the non-director's edition on PlayStation 5. I love that game, and I need to stop myself because I have a game.
Where do you have the time?
Yeah. What? How do you do that? I don't have that kind of time. I have to run multiple.
He's made a clone of himself. One clone plays the game, and the other does everything else.
Anyways, I love Ghost of Tsushima, and I thought I should go back and play that because we were talking. They said the gameplay loop is repetitive, and they want to fix the gameplay loop. And I'm like, no. I like that gameplay loop. So why are you trying to fix it? That was going to be the story we were going to talk about. There's more detail in it, but
don't fix the thing that is not broken, please, and thank you.
Here's a good one from Biggles Mets for $5. Refantazio.
Hey, Biggles
is fantastic. Played the demo and it is really feeling better than Persona Ooh, and I know the Persona people love Persona. I bought the collector's edition and a Steam edition. See, that's the kind of game sales that people can really take to the bank right now.
Is that a Sony only title though? Or?
Yeah, that's a good endorsement. Yeah, no, he just bought it on Steam too. It's on Windows.
Mm-hmm. Especially for somebody like Biggles. Biggles is a gamer through and through. So,
Jacob Foxfires for $10. Yellow Flash had a great point that that everything on this side of the pond, from voice actors to translators, have always been commie-read as Hollywood, and it's why us weebs had disavowed a lot of dubs. Okay, so I'm going to say localizations. This is a huge problem, and I don't know if we'll have time. We've only got 30 minutes left in the show. We're probably not going to have time to talk about the comments on Dragon Quest.
We may go long though. We almost always go long. Yeah. So
okay.
And everybody wave at minimal effort live. Thank you for being here, minimal effort
out there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And Glade Riven has it right, by the way. Jonas doesn't sleep. Jonas has kids, so I end up in that that I finally have some time now, revenge mode.
That just raises further questions.
There you go.
Time.
It was also like more than a year ago that I went through and played Ghost of Tsushima over and over and over again. Great game. But yeah, I will say that
your kids are like 5.
The voice actors that are in Hollywood that are not this are very quiet about it. So, because they would like to continue to eat. To Neil 89 for 5, windmills do not work that way, and I henceforth declare Spencer to be Don Quixote.
Uh-oh.
I'm doing a little tilt.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, but I'm referring to you guys as Don Quixote. Anybody who's right now is looking at this and going, it's completely woke, it's over, you're tilting at windmills because you're just seeing the shadow of what you think is a monster without knowing exactly what's happening yet.
Can I be Don Giovanni instead?
Is that the
okay?
What about how about Casanova? Right?
No, I
want to be Don Corleone and move on from this subject.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Oh, by the way, for $2, it was made by the Persona people. There you go.
By the way, though, if you're looking for a good gangster thing, go watch The Penguin. It's a good gangster thing.
I'm hearing that it's Script Doctor said it's Othello told from Iago's perspective. Which
I think so.
Fascinating.
I think you'd really enjoy it.
But when is Batman going to come and knock on the door and be like, "Do you know who I am? I'm Batman. Is the Penguin here? Can I talk to him? What? I haven't sit down with the Penguin because I'm Batman.
I'm Batman."
To Neil 89 for $5. Don't overthink it. I was just making windmill references.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, got
it. I like windmills.
I like windmills. Thank you again for the 5. Butterbiscuit 92 for $2. Culture, we're gonna have to have another conversation after this super chat, but privately. So not right now. Please get Streamlabs. I can send longer messages.
Okay.
We'll maybe work on that one.
I need more things to do, so I'll work on that.
That YouTube tax is cutting into everybody's fun.
It is. It's really hurting us. Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about games we like. I haven't played this game, but it's also based on another game that I like. So this out of Bounding into Comics, Japanese PS5 release of Pal World seemingly delayed indefinitely due to Nintendo and the Pokemon Company's patent infringement lawsuit. This by Nicola Patrick Spencer. Do you want to help me out?
I know his first name. I don't know his last name. Your guess is as good as mine there.
All right.
I know Nicolaj.
Recently, Nintendo won a lawsuit. The Pokemon Company, not necessarily Nintendo. The Pokemon Company won a lawsuit for $15 million over patent infringement on Pokemon. So this is going to get. If I were Pal World, I would be paying attention. In further complicating matters for the popular creature collecting game, the legal battle between Pal World, Nintendo, and the Pokemon Company has led to an indefinite delay of its Japanese PlayStation 5 release. If you have been paying attention here on that Gameplace, we talked about Pal World coming to PS5 on the State of Play live stream we did last week.
Yeah.
Launched into early access for PC and Xbox players In 2024, Pal World has been met with tremendous success, with the indie title going on to sell over 25 million copies worldwide. Wow. Congratulations.
That's 24 more million than Star Wars Outlaws.
It's so
that's how you do it.
That's a beta. It's a beta technically too. So.
Yeah, like early access beta, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I guess that's the same thing.
Oh, this is on Game Pass? I've got access to it.
It is, yeah.
Okay. However, the other side of this story is the game's aesthetic and mechanical resemblance to the Pokemon franchise. I've heard of those, with the latter in particular having led to Nintendo taking legal action against the developer Pocket Pair for patent infringement. While the details of the lawsuit aren't disclosed yet, there is reason to believe that the major part of the lawsuit is the ball catching mechanic, as well as several other related items, such as a meter displaying a player's catch chances.
I think the ball thing is going to do them in. They should have thought that out.
And I understand that like Pokemon has a ball, but Pokemon doesn't own a ball.
No,
they own their ball, their Pokeball.
Yeah.
They don't own all.
They own the system, the game mechanic of throwing that ball to catch a monster into that repository. Yep. That's what they own.
They do, and that's what's going to do in Pal World.
Even if it looks different.
Doesn't matter.
Even if it looks different, it's too mechanically similar. Yeah,
they'll get away with they'll get away with the pals, but they will not get away with everything else they've done.
Because you can't mechanic a patent on monsters on collectible creatures. You can't patent that, but you can patent
Digimon proves that. So.
Right, exactly. Digimon, Robopon, Monster Rancher, all the Pal World now, all of those things. But because it is the player aiming a ball and throwing that ball directly. And the ball opens and the creature goes into the ball. That's the specific thing Nintendo said. We did that. That's why you can't.
Never all the other monsters. Huh? No one's ever. I'm pointing out the ridiculous system, Nintendo, right?
What I'm saying is, have you seen it before? There are no other games that do this. Even before the 90s, there's no. I'm going to throw a capsule and capture this monster in this thing and take it with me mechanic.
Are you sure?
Well, actually, Dragon Ball had that, didn't they?
Kind of.
Dragon Ball had capsules, but A, capsules were for technology, and B, Dragon Ball is not a video game. They weren't making anything based on we're going to go capture something.
Yeah. So this is fascinating to me because, of course, Pokemon Company has been doing this since 1995, and I think that's a very long time for a game mechanic to be tied up with a single company. Obviously, there have been other games like Digimon was mentioned, or any number.
They didn't patent this mechanic until 2021 with the release of Arceus, because with Arceus, that's when they introduced the third person. You're standing behind the character aiming the ball.
So I'm thinking Nintendo is reaching beyond. Sorry, the Pokemon Company is reaching beyond where they should be reaching at this point. And Nintendo might be pushing them to do it as well, because Nintendo always goes too far in their legal battles as well. So I don't know if this is specifically because of Howard Lincoln, who used to be the chief officer at Nintendo of America, who was a lawyer who, very famously won the lawsuit that Universal threw against them to say that you don't have the rights to Donkey Kong because we have the rights to King Kong. And I mean, he smacked them down in court over that very quickly. So I don't know if this litigious nature comes specifically from that relationship, but this is the least attractive part of Nintendo. The protection of their IP, I get. But the protection against other things like this is incredibly frustrating. There's something else I want to throw in here before we move on to a different aspect of Nintendo's nature here. Does anybody have anything they want to say on Pal World or Pocket Pair or this situation?
I blame Spencer.
Okay. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
So
I don't disagree with you, Jonas. Though I agree with. They're always litigating everything, and they've been that way since the 80s. And they're overprotective, and they allow no breathing room. And they tend to win, though, because they'll outplay everybody in court, or they'll outlast them. Pal World, I had heard before Pal World released, they talked to lawyers about this, and they had the go-ahead, but I don't think they had the best lawyers at the end of the day. Do I agree with Nintendo doing this? Absolutely not. I think they've been sitting on a franchise And, as you said, it's unfair to patent everything the way they do it. And it's ridiculous. And it allows for no freedom in, growth in any other sort of game. But it is what it is. They've been doing it forever, decades, and they'll keep doing it. And they tend to win. And I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. So,
so Nintendo, obviously, they will go after those who emulate, right? Right. This has been a long-standing thing. And what's funny is I think now they are making a lot of money off of emulating their own games, a market that I don't think they would have gotten into if they had not seen what the demand for emulation of their games was, because of all the people who are dedicated to preserving Nintendo games. But this is one where I'm really surprised at how bad Nintendo is. In this case, Nintendo is now going after YouTube accounts which show games that are being emulated. Not that they're telling people to emulate or how to emulate, but if you show a game being emulated, Nintendo is going after your videos. So
can I add something onto that, Jonas?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nintendo just sent a letter the other day to the only working emulator that emulates Switch games.
Yes.
So the team that does that got notified. They came out with a statement and said, look, we're shutting everything down. We've been given our options. This is our choice at the end of the day to do this. Thank you, everybody who contributed, shared code, yada, 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 but it's done. And that is because Nintendo will sue you into bankruptcy, and worse, they'll put you under the bank if you mess with any of their stuff. They do not want you touching their property, and they've been that way since, like Space Dave said, the 80s. The people who made Game Genie had to beat them in court to keep making stuff. They had to fight Nintendo in court and say, look, we didn't take any of their patents, we didn't take any of their stuff and come out with our own blah blah blah. All this does is alter the code that's already on the game. It doesn't actually create code.
And the only way Game Genie stayed alive, Loki, is because they were in Canada, and it lasted as long as they did. And had they not been in Canada and the US, they would have been done the day after they put that thing on the market. So
remember the whole thing about Nintendo versus Blockbuster? They didn't even want people renting their games.
Yeah.
Like, these companies, I say this as a Nintendo diehard fan here, but these companies have done everything they can to stop like new IP from spawning, because everything needs to be tied to an IP now. But yet they're patenting all these mechanics in these games, and now you can't even show mods. They're doing everything they can to where you can't even play or modify the things they have. You just have to be served what you get, and you can't even cook your own food. It's ridiculous and is extremely... I keep seeing the word anti-consumer all the time, and I'm kind of sick of, because of course, a lot of companies are that way. But I'm just tired of these like little things that just keep adding up to where they don't want any of their fans to have any sort of creativity to create their own things. Because usually these people who go on to make these great original works, take like Undertale, the dude who made that game. He started off by making a hack of Earthbound. It was the Halloween hack. And he eventually used the tricks he learned from making that ROM hack into creating one of the most popular games of all time, who eventually even found himself in a Nintendo game with Smash Brothers Ultimate. So this is extremely detrimental to the whole video game industry as a whole. And now, if they were making profit off of these mods, I can understand that. But just shutting people down for just showing like emulation, which mods have to come from emulation, that is disgusting to me.
They can't control it. They can't control anything that you're doing. So better you not to do anything and them go after you than to let you make something that might make them look bad to someone that doesn't know that it's a mod.
And
Star Trek went after a lot of people back when the whole robot culture, bad robot thing, when they started with Star Trek, Bad Robot went after a bunch of people because they wanted to be the only ones coming out with any kind of Star Trek. They didn't want anything else.
They were trying to shut down Star Trek Continues and everything else. So
yeah.
Well, yeah, that and that's a tragedy. The thing that I think, and always find this fascinating when somebody comes out with a mod for something for a Nintendo, and obviously you can't directly mod something on Nintendo without hardware experience here.
Jailbreak. Excuse me.
Yeah. So when you get something like Pal World, I wonder if there's some upstart young Japanese guys over there at the Pokemon company. They're saying, that feature that I've been telling you that we need to put in for a very long time that everyone says that they love in Pal World. Well, what if we just steal that right back and they can't do anything about it? So this is something that, whether or not they want to admit it, I think Nintendo is affected by these things, and they go in this direction more than they want to admit. But yeah, the headline on that, by the way, USA Today covering this, popular Nintendo Switch emulator Ryujinx shuts down amid crackdown from Nintendo. This is just yesterday, and they're ceasing operations. So there will be an emulator of Nintendo Switch sometime in the future. They just don't want it right now. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I don't know what my ethical guides on emulation are as far as backups go, because as soon as you can make backups of your own game, it's like you're like usually about 3 or 4 clicks away from being able to obtain the entire library legally or otherwise, right? I think with the Switch and the way that the Switch works, and the fact that each one of those cartridges pings the Nintendo servers every single time you boot it up, which, by the way, is that added danger that if you buy a Switch cartridge, if that cartridge happens to have been cloned and keeps the security key that is individualized to each one of those cartridges, they could brick that cartridge if it's one that you have bought from somebody who happens to have cloned that cartridge. I think this is going to be something we're all going to be very frustrated about in about 5 to 10 years in a much bigger way.
It would help, Jonas. Sorry, it would help if Nintendo weren't a bunch of hypocrites at the same breath, because they got caught back in the Switch, or not the Switch, the Wii days, with their emulators, and they had stolen the source code off of one of the emulators that was out at the time.
Yeah,
I think for the N64, and then they got caught in court doing it. Hands down, they left some of the source code in it, and the person that created it came back, and Nintendo got away with it. I mean, they took a little slap on the hand, but they're quick to come down on emulators, which I kind of agree with and don't at the same time. I see their point. But, if you're doing the same thing, come on now. Ridiculous. So
there was a glitch that only happened in the game on that specific emulator, and the version that Nintendo came out with had that exact glitch.
Yeah, it was on Zelda, I think, Ocarina of Time or something. Yeah,
right.
And they got caught red-handed using the same emulator without any kind of permission from the people that created it.
Yeah, this is Ken Reihard is talking about something that I would love to bring up because it applies here. NES cartridge restrictions back in the day. So the CIC, or checking integrated circuit on the Nintendo Entertainment System, there was a protocol called 10NES that Atari got a whole. Atari said that they made the software on their own. They reverse engineered the Nintendo, and they were able to crack it on their own without looking at their own at Nintendo software. What's interesting is, because of the way this went down in court, it was proven in court that Atari had actually stolen the code because there were inactive parts of the code that, I don't want to say it was junk code, but it did not actually enter into the function that was found to be present in Atari's code. There's no way they could have put that code into their own chips unless they had directly copied it from a Nintendo cartridge. So they proved that they didn't just reverse engineer it; they had actually just straight up copied it. So this is something that Nintendo
basically like a signature.
Yeah. They should know better at this point, is the thing that I'm trying to say. So when I joke about being a Nintendo pixie duster here, it's because I love the things that they make, not in love with their habits. I'm willing to forgive a lot because they have amazing games. But the other thing I didn't bring up here is there's a video out of Game Explain where they just go shot by shot and point out all the things in Astrobot that are like directly ripped from mainline Mario games. But this is a company that I'm always so disappointed in the legal situation. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we go to Super Chats?
Yes. One more thing I'd like to follow up, particularly what you're saying earlier, Jonas, about where we'll be 10 years from now with this whole situation. There was a YouTube channel, I believe it was Moon Channel, made a great video about how kind of the whole situation going on with emulators and how this has been a long, like this goes back, I believe it was Sega who was initially like one of the big ones trying to shut down the whole emulation scene and all that. And basically what it came down to is when it comes to the emulation war or the war on emulation, there's kind of a theoretical like big red button to where if they try to sue, you know, all these people going after them like mad, it's going to kind of domino into the whole industry and with the consumers. And at the end of the day, everybody is going to lose. The consumers, the companies, like they're going to be a lot of money lost and a lot of people looking like fools by the end of it. And they're kind of just been stuck in this morally gray area where, you know, it's routine news piece of, oh, Nintendo shuts down fan game, emulation site gets shut down after how many years and all that, where I think Nintendo is kind of being ridiculous in some sense, though, because if we're in a spot where we really need to not theoretically push that red button, when they're going after people for literally just showing video of those like mods or emulators or all that jazz, it starts becoming a bit more of like a censorship issue where they don't want the narrative out there. And is that going to go well in court? Like, I think this is going to do more damage for their brand if they get more aggressive than less. I mean, I haven't seen their sales number, but let's not create a situation that's going to hurt all of gaming as a whole and not just the consumers.
Agreed. All right, there's the deep breath before the Super Chats. Jacob Foxfires for $10. All I will say is that if you want to take a swing at Nintendo, you must cross your T's and dot your I's because they will have their ninjas on you and look for any opening strike.
They're ninja plumbers. They're ninja plumbers. Not kidding.
Would it be one of those ninja stars from Super Mario Brothers 2? You know, the guys that jump up and down?
Oh,
yeah.
Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5. In U.S. law, if corporations do not enforce their copyrights on everything as soon as possible, they are prohibited from doing it in the future. Yep.
Only if they're aware. If they're not aware or didn't catch somebody, not necessarily. It has to be, you can prove that that company knew that you were doing it and sat on it. That would be the...
Well, the Disney company used to be very diligent about this. Like if anybody put up Disney characters on their wall and it wasn't something that was officially licensed, they would make a daycare center take down whatever it was that they found offensive. Of course, Warner Brothers would come in and say, no, we'll paint Looney Tunes characters on there for you.
Well,
to get the goodwill.
And Universal is like, yeah, sure, use the Minions, it's fine.
Yeah.
We don't even have official color like schemes for him back at the office. Your green minion, your red minion pinata, sure, that's fine.
You're good.
Ooh. Torgo the White for $5. Tinfoil hat. I'll bet the Yuzu Ryu Jinx code can easily be altered to run Switch 2. That's why they're going so hard on this.
Good theory.
That's a really good theory.
Was going to be bigger, a bigger cart and a different style, even though it still was going to be able to use the original Switch games. It was going to be more of a backward compatibility deal than the same exact, because they've got to upgrade. So that means they're going to run it on a new processor, a new graphics card. They've got to do a new system for that. So as soon as you take the chip out of the equation, you can upgrade the graphics card, but changing the chip, that means you gotta code it differently, and you'll have new assets you can use. I'm sure Culture can explain it better than I can, but
no, actually, what's great is we have a video right here on this channel that Nolan and I did on some of that stuff, so you can definitely check that out. But everything's going to be new, and what I really appreciate is they're still utilizing the lower power hardware to give you an excellent, if not top-notch gaming experience on a handheld that can also play on your television. The next one, the Switch 2, is going to be even more advanced in that you will have USB-C not only on the bottom but on the top as well. So you can actually link directly via USB-C to another one. You can do all kinds of things with that new USB-C. So very excited for that.
But I'm wondering, though, are they going to do the same thing they did with the light models and remove the ability to video out, though? Because that was a huge mistake on their part, I think.
No, that's the whole point. The USB-C and the HDMI outlet in the bottom will still be there, so you'll still be able to send that elsewhere. Not to mention the fact that I believe it'll have an ability to cast to remote screens. So based on some of the antenna we actually looked at the what do you call it? The motherboard, for the unit, the printed circuit board, PCB. So, yeah.
All right.
Anyway.
Thank you very much, Torgo the White. I think that's actually a really good theory. So, of course, the 3DS, they literally just added a tab into that one. Was the most awkward little thing hanging out on all of those 3DS cartridges. But that might have been just to keep little kids from getting confused. So there's one more story that I want to cover today, and it is not a gaming story, but it is a Nintendo story.
Nintendo.
The Super Mario Brothers Movie 2 features more Easter eggs for hardcore fans. We're finally getting confirmation that they're actually working on the Super Mario Brothers Movie 2, as if there was any question on that. And who is the person digging the dirt here? It's Keegan-Michael Key. Of course, another Illumination actor who doesn't sound anything like his actual self and the famous name that you bought him for, but whatever. Where it takes place is very intriguing, says Toad voice actor Keegan-Michael Key. This by Griff Griffin. This is in mensjournal.com, the place I go to for all of my video game news. The Super Mario Brothers movie 2 is going to feature some deep cuts for the hardest of hardcore Nintendo fans. That's according to Toad voice actor Keegan-Michael Key, who spoke exclusively to Men's Journal about the sequel to 2023's second highest grossing movie. One thing I can say about the second movie is that it's a little broader in scope, and where it takes place is very intriguing lore and the Mario world, says Key. They're going to find some really fantastic Easter eggs, and it's been very exciting.
We need Luigi in a mansion. Mario.
Oh, man.
Save that for the spinoff. Could you imagine them doing a Luigi's Mansion movie around Halloween time?
I would love that.
Prince money. They could literally do like a parody of all the recent Ghostbusters movies and stuff like that. It'd be hilarious.
Well, wasn't Luigi's Mansion kind of in some ways a parody of Ghostbusters? I mean, he's got a big backpack that has a gun, what looks like a weapon of some kind. I mean,
totally, yeah. Especially in the first one, if you listen to the soundtrack, there was definite Ghostbusters influence because it's not just your typical haunted mansion like orchestral vibes. There's literally like techno beats and stuff. All the contraptions, they were totally going for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I always loved about Luigi's Mansion the fact that you got this big soundtrack and it's on boom 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 boom, but then there'll be these very quiet moments of Luigi with just his flashlight, and every time that flashlight clicks on and off, it plays so well, and then he'll just be mumbling to himself, me. Oh, I loved it, absolutely loved it. But yeah, I would love to see a Luigi's Mansion movie, but expanding. A little broader in scope. That's I'm trying to think what that means. I don't know if that means galactic. I don't know if that means we're going to go outside of the Mushroom Kingdom and their neighbors, I don't want to say the Monkey Kingdom, the Kong Kingdom. No, sorry,
Kong Kingdom,
Donkey Kong Country.
Mario in space.
I think they're setting up for that Nintendo cinematic universe, like that drop Peach did in the initial trailer, or one of the first trailers for the Mario movie, where she's talking about how there's a whole universe out there, Mario. I really think they're going to use like the Mario Galaxy space aesthetic as a way to like connect the different universes. Like you'll have the Zelda planet or the Metroid space system or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it basically becomes Star Wars with Nintendo. I know it sounds silly, but I think that's the route they're going to go.
I hope so, and I hope they don't jump the gun. That sounds awful. I hope they don't jump the gun and do Wario yet. They got to save him for later. So
But if they do Wario, I would really, really want it to be Danny DeVito playing Wario. I don't know.
So if they do.
Yeah, well, and that's also very appropriate for Wario.
Can we get Chris Rock as Waluigi? Just to blindside people.
No, let's continue on. The first movie was already stuffed with Easter eggs from retro references to fourth wall breaks, so it'll be interesting to see how Nintendo outdoes itself. Key continues. I love that they're calling him Key. I feel like what they've done creatively is they've really widened out the universe that these characters live in, and we're going to meet some new folks. We're going to meet some new folks that are old favorites, and some folks that I think are really deep cuts. But because of the way the story is laying itself out right now, those characters are going to be very intriguing. I'm trying to think who is a deep cut Mario character at this point, because everybody seems to be in the forefront. I don't know if this ends up being
cut.
Wart from Subcon.
The sword guys from Mario RPG. A deep cut.
Next sword?
Gino, that's it.
Gino, yeah.
Finally get him
7 stars,
Brothers.
yeah.
So, and of course, here we go. How deep a cut are we talking? Could we get a reference to I think did he misspell Lakitu? Yeah, he misspelled Lakitu, the Google-eyed creature that uses a fishing hook to save you from plummeting off a track in Mario Kart. Well, swing and a miss. I appreciate the effort there. But how is Lakitu
I mean, he does do that. He does other stuff, but he does do that.
Yes, he does. He's also the cameraman. So what do we think this means? Is this what is this? Is this Rosalina? Is this I'm trying to think of the most obscure Mario title out there other than Hotel Mario, which I don't think they would shy away from that one either.
I doubt we're going to see too many stuff that will be like what I would consider like super deep cut, because like deep cut to me would be like you're going into like the Paper Mario games and stuff like that, trying to pull out some obscure party members. Like, I mean, maybe they could work in having like Goombella from the Thousand Year Door remake in like the background or something like that. But I'm assuming he's referring to something that's probably gonna be a little bit more mainstream of like a deep cut. So I think you might be seeing something obscure coming from like Mario 2, probably because a lot of that game has kind of been forgotten in some ways over time. But I do think it's a very surefire that you're going to see Rosalina at least teased in this one, because I'm telling you, they are going to be wanting to get her introduced ASAP, because once you get into space, you're going to start seeing a bigger universe, unless they want to play the whole subconscious thing in Mario 2 to have it be like a different dimension. But I think it's going to go around whatever the plot demands, because they want to have that Smash Bros. Movie at Illumination. I'd assume they'd want to make that adaptation as fast as humanly possible.
I hope, you might be right, but I really hope they take their time with this one. I know that they were delayed because of a few other factors, but I want them to make all of their things, and I'm kind of tired of cinematic universes at this point. Yes. I'm not saying that that's going to stop them from doing it. I'm just so tired of one movie that's got to set up other movies, and it seemed like only the MCU really worked for as long as it did, and even then the MCU is like not working now in the way that it's supposed to. We've had one successful film financially recently, and even then I'm like, are they going to pivot the entire MCU to be like filthy R-rated comedies now? Because there's somebody in the C-suite at Disney who's like, what we could do? We could just never have children watch these movies ever again.
Just absolutely right. Just have the pipes take them places. Have the pipes take, you could go through the pipe, come out of pipe, and Peach could be like, Mario, we're on world 2, and it could be Link's world. Oh, we're on world 3, and it's Super Metroid. And just don't do a multiverse thing. Just have a pipe system take you everywhere. That way Mario can just use the pipes to go wherever he wants to in the Nintendo world.
I would agree, Loki. I think that's the best approach they can do, because I'm completely with the Jonas. I want them to take their sweet time. I would love a movie just about Mario Galaxy, a movie about Mario RPG, and especially the broader spiel. Like, I don't want to be watching a Metroid movie here in a few years and just be thinking the whole time, man, I want to think about Link and Zelda medieval in my space thriller adventure. I want to have fun like I did in the Mario movie, where it was a healthy balance of fan service, but also just building the world. Let's see. Mario's got so much to offer in his universe, from Yoshi's Island, the space stuff, Subcon. You can do literally like 10 movies off of that. I'm just thinking practically here to where I think that they're going to want to chase the Smash Brothers movie too early. But then again, we saw with Nintendo, they made them change some things with the Mario movie to have it fit their strategies. So I really hope it fits like what we're all hoping for here. And we just get fun individual movies, and then we get the crossover, and then we don't have to worry about every single time we're watching a new movie. Is this going to be something like Marvel, where it's more often than not a trailer for the next movie? Especially when we get into Metroid, where it's going to be borderline R at some points with how mature they're probably going to have to end up making it.
I love this comment here from Jacob Foxfires for 5. I think it's more Super Mario Land, introducing Daisy and the alien final boss in Sarasa Land. I believe his name is Tatanga, but I'm not sure about that.
You're right.
But yeah, man, booting up Super Mario Land. By the way, that was a Gunpei Yokoi production, by the way, just to add to my admiration for that guy. Father of the Game Boy. I would love to see some of the representation from the Game Boy era of Mario, and that kind of came into its own and then got taken over by Wario. I don't know. I'm trying to think what would be the most obscure thing. I think you definitely get Rosalina. I'm wondering, I think they would be inclined to add in Princess Daisy. Pauline, I feel like, is making a comeback in the Mario universe, although I think it's hilarious that they have, Mario's ex-girlfriend who has kept up with her looks over the years. I think that's a funny thing to add into Mario, although she is a normal person. And I think she would be a normal person according to the Mario lore, because you can't have him abandoning Peach in the middle of all this stuff, but having a girlfriend for Luigi, I think that works. I don't know.
No, that's the plot of the second movie. It's going to be a love triangle.
And then throwing Donkey Kong in there to steal his girlfriend.
When Candy Kong comes in, it's going to be, the theater's going to go crazy.
Now that would be hilarious. That's what they need to get working on. First of all, recast Seth Rogen, and then get to work on that Donkey Kong movie.
Yes, please take out Seth Rogen.
Not just a me thing. Like, he was so distracting.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We're going to read Super Chats, and then we're going to go around the pike. Everybody's working on some pretty fascinating stuff, so don't forget to check them all out. Kalichi Oke for $2. Did I miss the Pokemon Company story? Well, you didn't miss it, because it's still on the channel.
Yeah.
But yes, we did already talk about it.
Yeah.
So, but thank you for the $2. I wish I could timestamp it for you. I don't do that until after the live stream. And this is one that I would absolutely love. Awesome one, saying Captain N.
Yes.
Movie. Yeah, get out that zapper. Disney, Nintendo has no problem with the zapper, apparently, because when we covered the museum there, they actually just got out not only the zapper, but they actually have the revolver.
Super scope.
The Super Scope.
They brought out the rifle and everything else. What a great thing that we found, or you found, I should say, Jonas. That was delightful. Thank you.
No problem. And people say we like to cover negative stuff. No, we actually, all of us love video games.
Yeah.
So, that being said, Spencer, do you want to tell people what you're up to on the internet?
Oh, we're already out. I thought we had more super chats. No, I'm not up to anything at all.
All right.
No, I'm kidding. Like, leave me be. I'm not updated.
You dang kids on my lawn.
I'm writing. That's all I have to say, Spencer. I'm writing. I'm editing.
I gotta let people know where that writing and editing is happening. It's happening on boundingintocomics.com. Get over there for your news, for the good news, for the detailed news on all the crap that is breaking down and all the things we love. Aside from that, you can check out my channel at Studio Kabuto. On Friday nights, I host a live stream where I just talk to you guys about whatever you want to talk about. And then Thursday nights, I host a show with Andrew from the Ripperverse, their social media manager. Foil Variant, same thing. Channel name is the same as show name. We just talk comic books. So that's tomorrow night. If that's up your alley, come hang out. And then, of course, check out everybody here. And because he's not here, I'll make sure to give a recommendation to go check out Tooneytown TV. There will be a stream tomorrow night. Go check out Tooneytown Wrestling. They'll be streaming on Saturday night for some pay-per-view. That's as far as my wrestling knowledge goes. I know there's something happening, but yes, check everybody out.
All right. Since Spencer just shouted everybody out,
there you
go. We're done.
Loki, do you want to tell people about what your mischievous mornings?
Oh yeah, we just did a great YouTube talk this morning talking about communities and people coming together and working together instead of working at odds against each other. We're going to do Thirsty Thursday. There's going to be a really big surprise tomorrow morning. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you'll absolutely love it. If you just come in for like the intro and then watch after that, you're going to be totally blown away. Something absolutely nuts is going to happen. So then we got Friday. We will be having a live Valhalla get-together stream Friday night. So there'll be people walking around with cameras. You'll get to see some people that you know from the internets and the interwebs and yada, yada, yada. So we should have like 2 or 3 live streams going on at the same time. Oh, cool. So, and we'll all be walking around with like a different camera. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, and that's going to be awesome. And so, how many different channels are involved in this?
As far as I know, right now it's going to be 3.
All right, but as far as I'm concerned, everybody should check out Loki first on that, and then maybe branch out from there. See if you can sync up the streams. That would be amazing.
There should be about a dozen of us there, but there'll be 3. There should be 3 people live streaming.
Awesome. Space Dave, I know you're taking a little bit of a YouTube sabbatical, but I want to thank you for being here. You got anything you want to throw in here before we continue on?
No, it's an honor to be on a panel with you guys. You guys all have great perspectives. It's great to get along and have different points of view. So it's an honor and a pleasure to even be on this panel. My personal life's a little bit all over the place, kind of like certain Zelda games and stuff like that. But I gotta go to a different venue in my head and just have fun here. It's great. So thanks for having me on here, and I'll try to be here every week if I can. So
there you go.
I'm glad you joined us, Dave. Nolan, when are we going to get another Lost in the Files?
Yeah.
Oh boy. So here lately, I've been working on a secret project that hasn't been announced just yet. I've been working with some other YouTubers to try to get that going. It should be having a proper announcement here in a few weeks. I'll just say that I have spent collectively probably 14 hours of drive time just to make this next episode happen. And it's been a process, and I'd have to give some props to Mr. Culture Casino the other day for helping me figure out some wiring on certain things. It's going to be a big episode. It's going to be the last episode of what I consider to be the first season that's been going over the course of the past 3 years. It's going to be on the Super Mario 64. Every copy is personalized. Tinfoil conspiracy. Yes, it's going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of B-movie horror elements again after my past few episodes are a little more documentary, lost media focus, and it's going to be a crazy can of worms. So if you're interested in the idea of evil 90s artificial intelligence in a Mario game, check out that little mini documentary that's going to be coming out in the future. I don't have a deadline set because it's been taking a lot longer to get produced than I'd like. But if you do want to see a complete episode, I do have a recent episode on Slamfest 99 that actually had voice work helped out by Culture Casino and Marvin the Movie Monster of that gameplay. So if you're interested in that, check it out.
And I want to plug... Sorry, I just want to plug Nolan, and I'm not puffing smoke his direction. He does a really, really great job on his documentaries. And that's no puff and smoke your direction. I was super impressed.
Yep. I was going to say the same thing, that Nolan puts a lot of work into them, and you can tell from the quality of his output. Culture.
Thank you.
We've made you wait for a very long time here, and we all just want to say we care about you, man. And we're just hoping that if you need anything, that you're reaching out, and if there's something going on, we just want to understand what we can do to help you do better.
Do better, Senator. No, honestly, just check out my channel. Trying to grow this monster over here that gameplays. This is a second home for me. I'm enjoying doing what I do, and I'm going to be doing more of it because the minute we end this live stream, I'm going to recruit some of these guys for a couple game videos that we got to get out because we had 7 other stories we could have covered during this 2-hour episode.
We talked a lot, though.
Yeah, we did. You guys were extraordinary. And I want to say thank you to the last 2 last-second super chats that came in.
Yes.
The mom dropped a $1.99 super chat. Thank you very much, the mom. Look at the cute picture. Look at the kitty.
So cute.
Saying, I'm finally home. Bye, guys. Well, yeah, we are about ready to step out. Thanks for being here. And Jacob Foxfire comes in with a last-second super chat for 5 Culture Casino Cash. No, it's not. It's arcade tokens. And notice how Jonas didn't give it any value today. We had a lot of arcade tokens for people.
You didn't run the leaderboard today either.
I kept updating it. In fact, here it is right here. Oops.
Get your tokens, kids. Get your tokens. Bug culture and get your tokens.
That's right. And
right now, today, right? Because it's a new month, right?
Yep. That's why platinum is a bunch of question marks. Because as of right now, you have Jacob Foxfires in first at gold. You have the silver is Machini, and you have bronze is T. Neal. And I'm telling you right now, that platinum trophy looks like it's going to Jacob Foxfire with this last-minute $5 super duper. Saying, I just wanted to throw that out there since there might be a focus on the princesses and their origin. So the next one that's closest is Daisy. I think Daisy's a good guess. And I have to say,
my girl.
I appreciate all the lore. We have so much lore knowledge in this little panel of humans. It's amazing to me. So I oftentimes just ask questions now. My videos are usually like talk about whatever's in the article, ask a question, listen to amazing stuff. Then I ask another question, listen to it. It's very easy to do what I do. So I just want to say thank you to all of our team and to the great Jonas J. Campbell, who is apparently trying to get me in a support group. I don't know what was happening with that, but thanks.
We care about you, Culture. We care about you.
Yeah,
we're here for you.
Is there a meeting I'm supposed to go to?
YouTube Addicts Anonymous.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Just one quick question before we go. Yeah. Jonas, are you sick today? Are you not feeling well?
Oh no.
What you didn't bring up Fortnite one time today.
Yeah.
Are you sick?
Or Mass Effect.
I only bring it up when do you guys okay, sorry. I will Google Fortnite news real quick and
Mrs. Incredible.
Well, that's the
news,
thing
baby.
that we could have talked about is Mrs. Incredible ending up in Fortnite and everybody commenting on that Pixar body type there. It's
I like that Pixar body type.
They know how to sell skins. Let's put it that way.
That's one way to put it. And now my son is waiting for Iron Spider to get back in the item shop with bated breath. He really wants that Iron Spider skin.
Ha! Got him.
Yeah,
I have something over a 7-year-old. Take that.
Exactly. Gory-Eyed Beast for 5 Canadian tokens. If you put a Star Wars label on a bologna sausage in 1985, it'd sell more than one.
That's true.
Real.
That is actually true.
Real.
Objectively true.
I love when they put Alden Ehrenreich solo on solo cups. That was the next level for me.
Yeah,
that was a real. I didn't even know they did that. That's hilarious.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'll find the photo and send it to you.
Now, mind you, they also used to sell
laundry detergent.
But they also used to sell Star Wars cereal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
The C-3PO ones. Yeah.
Do you guys remember the little spoons you could get around Revenge of the Sith where you like their little lightsabers
and they lit up
lightsaber spoons? I still have one somewhere.
They did those same
one of my pencil cups. Yeah.
They did those same spoons for Crystal Skull for some reason.
Ooh, you used to be able to get so many really cool stuff like that, like the glasses. You could get like real glass Star Wars glasses and mugs.
Burger King had like some amazing stuff. McDonald's had some great stuff. You could get the Looney Tunes on those McDonald's glasses, or was that also Burger King? Yeah.
You could get the entire Indiana Jones trilogy at the time at McDonald's for like $15 if you had so many Whopper coupons or whatever.
Now smokes. We're aging ourselves.
Yeah, now we're starting to hear. Well, tell us more about that, Grandpa. Thanks.
You know, I'm also going to point out. You know where you cannot watch Indiana Jones, any of the movies right now
on Disney Plus.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
you can watch one.
You can only watch the
Dial of Dysentery,
not like the other, right?
Are you serious? They pulled it from Disney Plus.
Yeah,
the licensing expired.
Well, From Disney? How does it expire from Disney?
Because their original movies are from Paramount.
Right.
Yep.
Lucasfilm doesn't own the full rights. They were distributed by Paramount. It's the same reason that Star Wars was tied up with Fox for so long.
That's sweet irony. I love it. Okay, thank you. You made my day happier.
Exactly. All right. With that being said, since we threw a little Disney there to make up for the fact that I wasn't talking about Fortnite, I want to say thank you very much for an excellent stream, and also the fact that it can get a little heated at times. I appreciate that we are all coming from a place of trying to find the truth, not a truth, but the truth. Thank you so much for being here for that gameplays. No. Why did you say that?
It's about being right.
Okay, I gotta
Spencer
hit the button because that was beyond the pale. So thanks for being here, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday live. Don't miss our daily videos, some of which we're going to record right now. See ya. Normally, I would have ended the stream, but we got a last-minute super chat, which I got to grab. It's from Tasuna Soul Silver, I think, for a Canadian $5 saying, I assume you will talk about the DQ3 interview next time because the interview hits me on a personal level, and I hate the state of games right now. I'll tell you what, let's absolutely do that. And thanks for chiming in at the end. Have a great day, everybody. See ya.